Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Stacy. This is going to be my November reading wrap up, which I'm getting up kind of late, but it's been a wild time, guys. It's been wild around here. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into this. The first book that I read in November was Mystery at the Manor by Matthew Costello. That is book 2 in the Cherringham mystery series. So I've read several of the books that are much later in the series, and then in October I went back and I read book 1 for the first time because I want to start at the beginning and kind of go through all of them. So in November I read book 2. I also read book 3, but book 2 was about an old man who dies in a fire. His manor house catches on fire. And when he's found like up in a tower room with a box full of memories. And so there is a mystery surrounding the things that were in this box and who started the fire. So, yeah, I really love this series because it is a girl and a guy. It is a retired New York detective who now lives in a houseboat in the Cotswolds in England, and his best friend is Sara, who is a British woman, and I love their dynamics together. And I think the reason why I love them so much is because I grew up on X-Files, and X-Files is one of my favorite TV shows ever, and I love Mulder and Scully. You know, a girl and a guy who are super duper close and are best of friends, but not a whole lot happens relationship wise. So I just love that. Anyway, I thought book 2 was really good. I gave it 4 stars. Book 3 was called Murder by Midnight, and I also gave that 4 stars. This one I really enjoyed because it took place over Thanksgiving time and Christmas, and Sara, the British woman, puts on Thanksgiving for her detective friend, and that was really nice because I lived in England and I did Thanksgiving while we were there. I hosted Thanksgiving, and so it just brought back a lot of memories of being in England and having Thanksgiving. And it is about a woman who is in the choir, and they're putting on a Christmas concert, and one night after they were practicing, she ate a cookie and she went into anaphylactic shock and she dies. So the mystery is surrounding her death because was she poisoned? Sure seems like it. Anyway, there are lots of references to, like I said, Thanksgiving and also Christmas. There's snow. The scenery in this area is amazing. These books are so cozy and warm, and they're just the perfect thing to read during Christmas time. The next book that I read was A Scottish Confection by Ruth Hartzler. I gave this one 4.5 stars, and I thought that this was the last book in the Amish Cupcake Mystery series, but when this book ended, there was like the first chapter for the next book, but I haven't been able to find that book, so I don't know if it's available yet. But this one is about the same characters that were in all the other books. I think this was book 6 or 7. And it's a woman who used to be Amish. She's not anymore. She has a twin sister. Her sister is still Amish. So there are references to Amish, but the main character is not technically Amish. And she lives with these 2 very old ladies. They're in their 80s, and they were like spies or worked for the CIA, something like that. They were crazy. And her boyfriend is from Scotland. He is in America currently as a detective working in America, but he goes back home to Scotland to visit, and when he goes home, he goes missing. So she gets on a plane and goes to Scotland and tries to figure out what happened to her boyfriend. And while she's there, she ends up staying with 2 old Scottish ladies. And it's hilarious. It's just a really fun, cozy mystery series. There is nothing bad in these books. They're just so much fun. And I love getting back into them and seeing these characters. And they're just great. So yeah, 4.5 stars for that. The next book I read was called Cold Drip by Heather Day Gilbert. I gave this one 4 stars. This one is a cozy mystery, part of a series. It's the first one that I've read of this series, and it takes place during Thanksgiving. So I read it. I want to say these books take place in West Virginia, is what I'm thinking, or North Carolina, maybe. I don't know. They take place in like a mountainous kind of town where there are caverns. And in this book, a young girl goes to visit caverns, like the underground caverns, with a group of friends. And while she's in there, she falls and disappears. And so there's a big mystery of what happened to this girl. It was pretty good. I really did like the main characters. I liked the setting. What I did not like, though, was the motive for the crime. And I had this issue in another book of hers that I read, The Queen of Hearts. I hated the motive. So the book itself was great up until the very end when you figure out the motive and you're like, why? Like, that's just weird. So I was not a fan of that. But yeah, the book overall was pretty good, and I would continue with the series. I think they're all on Kindle Unlimited, so that's good. The next one I read was Callie and the Pumpkin Seed. That is a Cinderella retelling by Sara, Beran. I gave that 5 stars. That book was amazing. It was so adorable. It was precious. It was all of those words that just melt your heart. It was so, so cute. It's probably the best retelling I've ever read. And it's about a girl who owns like a pumpkin patch, and she works in a bakery, and she bakes tons of pumpkin-y products. And so the book is full of like cinnamon and spice and pumpkin pies and pumpkin bread, and you can like smell the stuff coming off the page. It's so good. And then this stranger comes into her bakery and starts talking to her and starts coming in all the time, starts chatting with all of the customers. She doesn't know who he is, but he's like this super amazing, nice guy, and they have the best banter. This is a Cinderella retelling, so, you know, she is supposedly Cinderella and the guy is supposedly the prince. I won't go into all of that, but it is just so sweet and so heartwarming and funny and pleasant. It was just the nicest thing to read. The next book that I read was Hear the Falling Snow by Storm Shutlz. I gave this one 5 stars. This was a Christian contemporary romance. This one takes place in Kentucky at this place that's they kept calling it the castle, but it's like a big manor house, and the owner of the house has like a Christmassy baking retreat at her house every year, and she invites a group of people over, and they stay there for like 3 weeks, and they learn how to bake all these different dishes. And the main character, she had lost her mom the year before, and her sisters sign her up to send her to this baking retreat, thinking that, you know, it would do her a lot of good to go. And while she's there, she meets a guy and it's a romance, but it was very Christmassy, lots and lots of faith. The setting was beautiful. There was snow. I really liked all the characters. It was just a really great Christmas read, so I really recommend that one. The next one I read was The Mystery of Mistletoe Hall by Benedict Brown. And I also gave this one 5 stars. This one was a Christmas murder mystery. It's a locked room set in a British manor. Like, seriously. And it was over the top Christmassy. And it was kind of funny because at the end, the author's note, he said that he loves Christmas and he wanted to be able to go all out in this story with all of the different things that he loves of Christmas. And you could tell it was just page after page of, you know, talks of mistletoe and the roasted goose and the snow and the stars and all the things. It was just so perfect. It was a murder mystery, but it wasn't like over the top or anything. And it was a clean read. This is part of a series. I think this is book 3 in the series, but it was written to where you could read this as a standalone. So although there is mention of some things that happened before this, I wasn't confused, and you don't need to read the other books to read this. So if you're looking for a really good Christmas mystery, definitely check this one out. I also really loved the characters in this, and I loved the main character. I think he's 17, like a 17-year-old British boy, and he's so awkward and funny, and he knows it. He knows he's like weird and always says the wrong thing, and he kind of like thinks out loud throughout the book, like, oh, I can't believe I said that. Oh, that was really dumb. It was just so cute. I really liked it. The next book that I read was Dragonfly Ashes by C.C. Warrens. I gave this one 4.5 stars. This is book 2, and I don't remember the name of the series. I don't know how many books are going to be in it either. It might just be the 2 books. But I read Firefly Diaries a few years ago. Absolutely loved it. It's one of my all-time favorite Christian books. So I was very excited to read this. And I actually read this with Chrissy from Chrissy's Purple Library and MrsThomas. So we all read this together. And I think this was a really good conclusion to the first book. It had a very slow burn romance, and I loved how that played out. I loved the found family elements in this book. The grandparents were like just the sweetest things ever. And the mystery actually made sense. You know how a lot of times you're like, I don't get the motive, or this doesn't make sense. I think it made sense. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. It also takes place over Halloween time, but it's not like a Halloween-y book, but it does take place in like October time frame. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. I really liked it. I had a really good reading month in November, lots of really good books, and hopefully I do okay in December as well. I feel like I am having a slower reading month already though. I think today's like the 5th or the 6th. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm very busy this month, and when I'm not being busy, I'm really liking watching Christmas movies. So when I would be reading, I'm watching movies instead. So what are you gonna do? Anyway, I hope you all had a great November and you're having a great December, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.